bad thing.
Dr. Myrtle Mean shares the recipe for ecstasy with the men of Omega Psi Phi.
We have two experts here. We have Dr. Myrtle Mean. She's an author as well as a solo.
A what?
A solo. Excuse me. Yes. I'm from the South, so I slur a few of my words, so forgive me.
Who are you?
I'll get to that point in a minute, brother. No heckling. I have the mic, brother. I can crush you with this mic.
Crush you on the mic, son.
But yeah, so this, so I'm not gonna say too much, but we have Dr. Myrtle Means and we have Brother Robert Williams of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So they're both relationship experts. So I'm not gonna say too much. I'm gonna let them explain what they do, how they do it, and where they do it at. So further ado, I'm going to introduce first speaker is Dr. Myrtle Mean. Please give her a warm of applause. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I feel a perfect audience. There's a lot of fellas in the room today. And I'm doing some research on fellas, so I hope that you all are willing to participate by the end of the night. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm in private practice. I have an office in St. Clair Shores, Michigan, and in Inkster, Michigan. That's where I do most of my work. And my side job is writing and doing research on human sexuality. It's my area of expertise. I've done, my first book is The Recipe for Ecstasy, What Women Want, Sexual and Relationship Satisfaction. I'm currently working on my second book, which is The Recipe for Ecstasy, A Lover's Guide to Sexual Enhancement. And then my third book, which I'm hoping some of you will be willing to give me a hand in, is The Recipe for Ecstasy in His Own Words, where I'm looking for men to sit down with me for an hour or so and tell me about your most sexually satisfying experiences. So, hopefully at the end of the night, we'll have some takers. I'd like to start a little bit with some of my own personal background because I think it's helpful to give you some insight into how I got here. People always want to know how are you a psychologist with the expertise in human sexuality and you grew up in the hood. Because I did. I grew up on the east side of Detroit, born and raised to a teenage mother. My circumstances on the east side were not unique. If you all know a little bit about the east side, it's all parts of the east side. Hardcore, deep east side.
Right,
Jefferson, Harding, off the road, you name it. That's where I'm from, right? So if you know about the real east side, see, I don't think like, what's that, they call that 7 Mile or that ain't the real east side. I'm talking about the deep east side. So, right, not almost west side, east side.
I was there with you.
Okay. So you know where I'm coming from, right? So, I am sure that my own personal background led to some of my interests. So like I said, I was born to a teenage mother, right? She married my stepfather, who was also in his late teens, early 20s. Right, quiet. You can't listen and talk at the same time. That's right. So I was curious about my mother's choices, right? How she picked the men that she picked. I was curious about love, right? So it was something I didn't see a whole lot of on the east side. You saw a lot of violence, some limited education, inappropriate sexual education. So I was curious about that. So from a very early age, I would sneak in, turn on the radio, listen to Dr. Ruth. Sexually speaking, had to be about 9 or 10, right? Nobody was watching me. But I was curious. So I'm sure that some of that curiosity came from probably, like I said, limited boundaries, overexposure to sexuality. I don't have any conscious memories of it, but I'm pretty certain my curiosity came from somewhere. Being raised in a household when my mother was 16, she was young, her hormones were raging, right? That's what's going on when we're teenagers. So I left home pretty early, 14, right? Left home at 14. Put myself through high school, put myself through college, and then on to graduate school where I went on to study psychology and human sexuality, probably with some attempt to understand my own upbringing and some of the choices that the people made around me as it relates to relationships and sexuality. So that led me to my first research project. I asked women to tell me in their own words about their most sexually satisfying experience. And then I asked them to tell me what made it so satisfying. Did they experience orgasm? What was the partner like? Was he a first-time partner? Was he a long-term committed partner? Was it experimental? I asked them to tell me if they considered marrying this person and having children with them. If so, why and why not? So I got a wealth of knowledge from a very wide range of women, ages 18 to 65, 70, right? All types of women. High school education, professional women, doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, right? So I took all of that information and I took the narratives and I put them in my book, and so there's a detailed account of what the women told me, and then I extrapolated ingredients. Every woman was looking for something a little different. Single, married, with and without children. Everybody was looking for a little something different. They had their own unique recipe, so every woman has her own chapter. I was specifically interested in the effect of intimacy and commitment and orgasm responsiveness on sexual satisfaction. So I also looked at those things. And I looked at the difference between being single and married, having children and not having children, and what that meant for sexual satisfaction. Now, when I started my research, I was a single woman. I didn't have any kids, and so I looked at it from a very different perspective. Right now, I'm married, 3 kids. The research means something totally different to me. So I want to ask you, what do you think in terms of the most sexually satisfied woman out there? Is she single? Is she married? Does she have children? Or not?
Oh, she has
Married? No, she does not exist. Oh, don't say that. Keep hope alive. Trust me, it's out there.
I would say divorce. I would say divorce. Divorced or maybe over some relationship. Maybe we'll call it divorce. We'll call it single.
Okay.
Okay.
With
children.
Oh,
with children.
I definitely want to hear from you. You have to tell me why you say that.
Well, I think that having children matures women in a different way, and it gives you a different appreciation for your body. So I think that my experiences personally were a little bit more personal after having children.
Oh, you know what? I appreciate that. I'm going to tell you why I appreciate it, because it's the first time I've ever heard it. And I've asked this question many, many times. And then I've never, ever heard a woman talk about how a body changes after you have children. So I mean, that's the truth, right? That's real talk.
How does this?
Well, just wait 1 second. So I want to get to the man who said married without children. Where are you? Someone said married without children?
Everybody said it.
I said married.
Tell me why you said that.
Because I think that when you have children, that sexual life is gone from women, for a lot of women. Because you focus on different things. You focus on taking care of the kids versus taking care of your man. You know what I'm saying? You focus on taking care of the household versus taking care of your man.
Okay, so I want to take a step back and tell you a little bit about the foundation of my research. I am a psychoanalytic psychologist, so I'm a Freudian psychologist. I believe in unconscious motivation and how it affects our behavior. I believe in the strong impulse of sex and aggression and how it drives us. You all probably know a lot about penis envy if you've heard of it, and the Oedipal conflict in terms of having an attraction to the opposite sex parent and wanting to defeat the same sex parent and the resolution of this conflict. So I use this as a theory to make some hypotheses, right? So the theory tells us that women who have found a mate and have had a child will be the most sexually satisfied because she has resolved her Oedipal conflict. She has given up the wish for her father, identified with her mother, and decided to go out and find a man like him. And then to compensate for her inadequacy, penis envy, she has a man and a child, preferably a man-child. So it's a little sexist, but preferably a man-child to bring her a sense of affirmation. So I use that to guide, and then I use theories of evolution, right? Evolution tells us that our primary objective is to reproduce. That's how we get here, that's how we stay here. We need to make babies. And we do that by making love. Go right ahead.
Getting back to your answer to the satisfied woman, the woman that, sexually satisfied.
I'm on my way. Just give me 1 second. I'm on my way. So this is what I hypothesize. I hypothesize that married women, again, now keep in mind where I'm at. I'm single women without any kids. I hypothesize, according to the theory, it tells us that you require to mate, importance of reproducing, and you've had a child, that will give you the most gratification because you've completed the cycle in terms of most meaningful aspects of relationships. So I hypothesize that married women with children would be the most sexually satisfied, that married women would have the greatest level of intimacy and commitment in relationships. Interestingly enough, when I put the hierarchy together, married women without children were the most sexually satisfied. Didn't surprise me so much in that they had the greatest level of intimacy, greatest level of commitment. But what did perplex me a great deal is when you added children to the mix, they went from first to dead last. Not second, not third, last. That was a problem. And what was even more curious to me is that single women with children came in second. I'm thinking, what? How can that be? Right? How can that be? Fewer resources, less time, fatigue, all the things that come along with being a single parent, I'm sure you understand. So I'm perplexed and trying to understand that. Again, I appreciate your response because even in my thinking through it, the appreciation of your body never came to mind in terms of the intimacy that comes, right? So part of how I came to understand it was exactly what you said, right? Women have kids and their priorities shift, right? They got laundry to do and babies to feed and stuff to do. And so the number one things that change is the level of passion in a relationship, right? It's not as hot as it used to be. It's not as new as it used to be. The level of arousal isn't what it used to be. And then when you add kids, you got to sneak off to the side, you got to wait the babies go to bed. It's a lot of work, right? Single women with children, they are oftentimes getting it in after they put their kids to bed, or it's just a primary objective. It's not about laundry, it's not about bills, it's just about sex, right? I don't have time for any of that other stuff, right? And it's not about love, right?
Okay.
Because, well, it's a good question. Why not? Because, wait, it's a very good question. Why not? It's a good question because one of the things that I found that was problematic in the group of single women is they had less intimacy and less commitment. So on a whole, the group was less satisfied. On a whole, they were less satisfied than the married group because they had less intimacy and less commitment. It's a very good question. So when I rank them in terms of their narratives and the things that they were looking for things like newness, arousal, variation in the sex act. Love and intimacy were ingredients, but they were down lower on the list of ingredients. Married women were looking at things like mood and nature of the relationship really stood out. The relationship was really important. Actually, the married women with and without children had the exact same 3 top ingredients: mood, nature of the relationship, and setting. And often they wanted to be relaxed and playful, be able to set aside the responsibilities of being a wife and being a mother and just get into the act of making love to their husband. So, you asked a very good question because what I learned is that the married woman can take a note or two from the single woman book, and the single woman should be taking some notes from the married woman as well. Single women should be looking for more intimacy and more love and more commitment. Somebody's gonna stick around. And it sounds good, but you play a role in that, right? Because right, you have to be a really special kind of man to commit to a single woman who has a kid. And we're all grown here, so if you've not been married by this age and stage of life, you likely have been married and divorced, or you are married, or you got a kid out there somewhere. Just the real deal. Most of us at this age and stage of life, that's where we're at. So if you're going to find a mate, especially like I say, if you're a man looking for a woman at this age and stage of life, the likelihood that she has a kid, it's pretty high. Right, it's pretty high. So it means that you're going to be a special kind of man if you're going to step to her, because that means you're going to be a kind and generous man, willing to give some of your resources to a baby that's not even yours, right? That's what it means. It means you're going to be a special kind of man. And I found that many single women weren't aware of that. They can't just go out. Single women with kids can't just go out and pick any kind of man. He has to be a really unique kind of man. So the hierarchy goes: married, without children; single, with children; single, without, married with. My group is dead last, and my life's objective is to move us up the chain. That is my life objective. That's why I wrote the recipe for ecstasy. I'd like to see.
What's the recipe?
Well, it depends on who you're looking for, right? So, the greatest predictor. I told you I was looking at three things, right?
Right.
I was looking at intimacy, commitment, and orgasm responsiveness. It means whether or not you achieve orgasm. Whatever means.
So you mean married women with kids receive the
least amount of satisfaction in general.
What? Because to me, listening to you talk, it's like it's a temporary gratification. And what I mean by that is, you have sex and all that kind of stuff, and it's only temporary. You know what I'm saying? It only lasts so long. It's the act of, and once you come to the point of, for me,
Climax.
The point of climax. We move on to the next point. So it's come on, man. I'm trying to be political. But once you reach that, people like I'm dating single women, with kids, and she don't care about the whole emotional side. It's like
because she don't have time for that. In terms of sexual gratification and relationship gratification are two very different things, and you have to keep that in mind, right?
But to me, both of them is temporary.
Relationship, well, absolutely. So ecstasy. Wait. So let me say this. I can appreciate your comment in that we don't live up here, right? We don't live in ecstasy, right? It's a great place to aspire to. We get to visit, right? And it should be the objective, right? People fall in and out of love. In the context of being married, people fall in and out of love. But what is consistent is your commitment to maintain it. That's what's consistent. That's what should be. So I said the things I was looking at: intimacy, commitment, and orgasm responsiveness. Intimacy was the greatest predictor of sexual satisfaction for women. Being close, feeling connected. That was what was most important overall.
I think we all know that, right?
How did you quantify intimacy, though? How did you quantify it?
Well, it was a qualitative. This part of it was qualitative. So. No, I had a qualitative and a quantitative. So my quantitative measure was Sternberg's, just called the triangular theory of love. And he defined the construct of love by three variables: intimacy, commitment, and passion. And so I assessed intimacy, commitment, and passion based on his measure. I used it. And so that's how I assessed it in a quantitative sense. But in a qualitative sense, I use the narratives in terms of themes. I pulled them out. And if you want, I can go through and I can read you one of the narratives that falls under intimacy and give you an example of what it sounds like in a qualitative sense.
What is the difference between a man and a woman?
When you cut it down, you boil it down, men are physical. They like what they see and they want to get to it. Now, woman, on the other hand, she wants to be romance. She wants to satisfy the mind before you satisfy the body. Brother wants to satisfy the body. Forget the mind and get right to the body. Now,
wait. Do you all I agree with y'all out there want a stupid woman.
I agree with this though.
But how many people out there want a woman where you don't consider her mind?
Say again.
How many men out out there
It's
want.
scenario based.
Well, that's if that's in the short term, right?
Don't
But if
say
you're
that
talking about
easy
something
express
long
will be an
term,
hour.
but if you're talking about something long term, do you want just her body? Because if you're gonna have a family with a woman, she needs to have a mind, right? She has to be able to teach your kids something.
Yeah. Woman,
Right,
a
okay, absolutely.
a
Everything
woman,
is not long term.
Dr. Means is right. A woman wants her mind to be satisfied before she gives you her body. Man generally,
Say that again?
a woman wants her mind to be satisfied before you give her, before she gives you her body. You have to show her some kind of appreciation. And you have to, before. Men are less likely to be patient in that way. Because of their physical nature, they want to feel.
Does good sex require self-actualization?
You all are going between, it's interesting how you all are going between sex and relationships, right? So where are we at? Are we talking about, because if you don't have sex and that's all it's about, you need to know, are you clean? Have you been tested for X, Y, and Z? I mean, what you like, what turns you on, what you don't like, but if you're really trying to get to know someone, I mean, you don't have to be self-actualized to have good sex with someone. Right. Self-actualization comes in when we're talking about relationships.
If you're not self-actualized, you're lucky.
You're lucky?
That's what I'm saying. If
Well,
you're not self-actualized, you're lucky.
Well,
that means that the person
I don't know, I
that you
wouldn't be around your ass.
deal with you.
well, you're talking about, again, you're going between sexuality and relationships. So what are we talking about?
That's
Are we
all of
talking,
the above. What I'm saying, that's
There's a difference.
but it's not. Every woman is not a full-course meal. That's what I say. Every relationship is not a full-course meal.
I get what he's saying. He's saying that you need to know who you are and what it is you're looking for.
Oh, absolutely.
No, whether it is you're looking for a relationship or you just trying to get laid. Exactly. You got to be able to be real enough with yourself and be honest. And a lot of times,
That's what I'm saying. And they go,
I think that's what he's trying to say.
that's what I'm saying.
He's saying be real with yourself.
If you try to bust some nut in, go ahead and say it. In the country's called cut.
But I can say this, men are more honest about that than women. Women, a
Why
lot of
women
times,
front so much?
because
We don't want nobody to.
Because society doesn't accept us the way they accept you. It's all about physical. Society doesn't accept us the way they accept you. A woman says, all I want to do is get laid and you go home after that.
Tell them to come here tonight.
If that's all you want, you want me to do the max. Right? You think that.
What's wrong with the whole back section?
What I'm saying, you don't want your business out.
Whole back section.
Double standard. That's what that's about.
Does size really matter?
I agree with the doctor. I think that
If you love the person.
size matters when it comes to the person because I mean you think like this. If I ain't trying to do all that kissing and all that, then yes, your size matters. Right. I gotta be able to do what I gotta do. You know what I we gonna spend the time to go there, then what she's saying is real. If we gonna spend the time to go there, then yeah.
So y'all telling me y'all can kiss away a little bit? You can kiss away a little bit.
I think preference is very important. Personal, you know. I don't like chocolate ice cream. That's just who I am. I can serve it up any kind of a small scoop, a big scoop. I'm not eating it, right? I think you have personal preferences. I think it's a very individual thing. I think love absolutely will facilitate some arousal. I think that it will. Intimacy is very important when it comes to women, but if that's not what it's about, and I do believe that there are men who are not that well endowed who can be good lovers. I do. But you have to put in some work. You have to do your I'm just being real.
Now there's some questions. I know there's some statements when it's being made. You want to ask a question, what have you. Let's be a little quiet with it. But if you got a question, just raise your hands and not blurt out your questions.
Be recognized. What constitutes more work?
Well, it depends on what your lover likes and what you want. I mean, that comes from communication and paying attention and asking asking questions and knowing what she likes. I mean, so the penis don't even have to be involved if you really want to go there. I mean, that's the truth. It doesn't. So it really depends on what the objective.
You believe in unconditional love?
Women love out of duty, like out of choice.
Oh.
No, listen to me. Love, as we say, in other words, love out of duty. That means I love you regardless of what you do. I love out of duty.
I don't believe in unconditional love. So.
I'm saying that exactly. When you use the word love, you're not saying the same thing. If all love is conditional, then you're like out of choice. That means when you decide what you like and what you don't, and when you don't like it, you don't like it.
Okay.
Whatever the reason is. And when you don't like it, then if you don't, your love goes as long as you like it.
Well, this is what I'll say. Again, I said again, I don't believe in unconditional love.
Give me a statement. Do you agree?
I disagree.
So
I don't know about obligations. I do.
Okay.
But I love them
unconditional.
Right now.
No, I'm not saying. Okay, guess what? I can tell you that teenagers right now.
Wait. Let me explain. I believe that there is a time of our lives where love is unconditional, right?
Yeah.
And it is a very brief time. It is when we are children. We are entitled to it. We get it, right? There are many people who do not love their children. Many people who do not. People who beat their children, that's not love. People who neglect their children, that is not love. And the problem is that many of us don't know what love is supposed to feel like. I know what love is supposed to feel like. It is a choice. I choose to love, okay? So I love my children. It's a very natural thing. I wanted them. I chose them. They were not a mistake, okay? I chose them. And it is my job to love them and to show them what love is supposed to feel like. Because I want them to know. I want them to leave me and go out and be able to recognize it in the world when they get out there. So I am married. Yes, I do. I am married. I do love my husband. But I also believe that people fall in and out of love in the course of marriage. You're going to be married for 50 years. There is distance. So love is characterized by closeness, right? It's characterized by a desire to be physically connected to someone. I mean, I want my kids, they want to come and sit in my lap. I want to go and sit in my husband's lap. You understand? It's character, and it's a commitment to preserving that type of closeness, that emotional closeness and that physical closeness. And that does not remain constant. There is no way. If my husband treated me like shit, if he beat me, cheated on me, lied to me, I would not love that. I would not love that. If my children left out of here and God forbid, became a serial killer, guess what? That'd be really hard for me to love. It'd be really hard.
Switching the actions. I mean, you're addressing actions and not the actual entity or the person or the character.
But love is an action. You show love. I can say I love you, and I can slap you in your face. So love is an action. It is very active. It is very alive. Love is not a passive.
Which one are you talking about?
Pardon me?
Love, the four-letter word love does not describe what you're talking about. Here's what I'm saying. All I'm saying to you, the four-letter word that we use for love does not describe exactly how you feel.
I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm saying the four-letter word love does not describe how the condition of how you feel, the condition of your relationship.
Before that,
agape means unconditional. And so you said you don't love unconditional. So there must be another one. Eros means love of sex. Philia means love of friendship.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is you got to define it some kind of way. Right?
I'm telling you how I define it.
No. I don't see that.
I understand what you're saying. I understand.
And so when you don't like me, you know what I'm saying? No feeling.
That's like you right now.
But you asked me if I thought love was unconditional, if I believe in unconditional love, and I answered, I think it appears in a brief period of time. At a point, you expect things in return. You do. Okay. I mean, like I said, if my husband was mean to me, if he lied to me and cheated on me and beat me, I would not love him. I would not love him.
And that's why he prefaced that to saying the Greeks
you don't like it.
8 different forms of love, 8 different words for the word love. And agape,
I wouldn't like him or love him.
That's what I said. I'm agreeing with you.
Right.
And so therefore, if you don't like him, there ain't gonna be no arrows. That means you ain't giving him no sex.
Absolutely. There won't be none of that.
Can open relationships work?
Individuals who choose to be in an open relationship acknowledge a person's right to separateness, the right to choose and live the life that they want to have, whatever that means.
You talking sexually, or you talking
Sexually?
In any kind of way. It means that
No, open relationship. I'm just saying. Okay.
we're talking about a relationship, so you keep trying to compartmentalize sex.
No, I'm not trying to
But if we're talking about a relationship, it's in the context of something, right? It's in the context of something. So two people who are in a relationship, they are dealing with each other on a regular basis. They are relating to each other. Sexuality is in one way they relate, correct? But it's not the only
I didn't say so.
way they relate.
Okay.
So if this is just my understanding of it, they appreciate one's right to be separate, to have their own choices, including being able to choose who they're going to have sex with. But if you're really relating to someone and you're in a relationship and it's an intimate relationship, there are going to be things about it that you share. And it might not be the details about who I'm with and what I did and how I did it, but whatever you do, it's not going to affect the foundation of this relationship. It's not going to detract from. It might give to. Why are you shaking your head?
I'm not buying it either.
Don't buy that it exists.
No. I'm gonna tell you why I don't buy it.
Tell me why you don't buy it.
The issue, and again, there are a lot of things that form a relationship.
Absolutely.
All right, but one of the things is trust and intimacy.
All right.
Okay.
The most.
And if you're a multiple, if you're a poly-intimate person,
It's very intimate.
I'm saying, it comes from how you define love. If you're poly-intimate, okay, poly-intimate with my kids, I don't have a problem with that. Poly-intimate with my family, I don't have a problem with that. Poly-intimate with you, my brother.
Hey, Terrence, first of all, you need to stop.
What?
Explain what poly. What is it? Okay, explain it. I didn't know that. Hey, real quick.
So what I'm saying is, okay. My ex-wife, I'm cool with her. I still love her. My present wife, I love her too. Be intimate with both of them.
Hold on, I got one brother. That's a question.
That's because you're poly-intimate and you're not married to a poly-intimate.
Well, yes.
Bobby had a question. Bobby had a question. We're going to limit this to 2 more questions because time is running there. So, Bobby and whoever has one more question, then we're going to have the speakers give their final say-so.
Why you keeping it
final words.
I'm sorry.
And their final words, we'll move forward from that point. All right, Bobby, please go ahead.
Okay, get back to your. When you first meet someone and you fall in love with them, there's always something or some things about those persons that make you fall in love with them.
Yeah.
And you can lose those things. Now, the question is, can you get that back?
Well, I define being in love as the degree of involvement, right? So I believe when people start getting really involved, think about when you first fall in love with someone, right? You're talking to them all the time, you want to see them, you're making love, you're touching, hugging, kissing. There's a lot of interaction. And yes, there's distance that comes over time. Can you lose it and get it back if you're willing to do the work, right? If there hasn't been some significant trauma or damage that cannot be repaired, but everybody has to be willing to do the work. You understand? Not just one person. I want to work on being back in love too. Everybody has the same common goal. I have couples all the time that come in. One person's in love, the other person's out of love, and they don't want to try. They don't want to fall back in love. They don't want to get back involved with the other person. So I think it's possible, but I think it depends on the degree of distance that you have allowed to occur. it depends on the degree of damage in terms of how much you hurt each other, but it also depends on the willingness to forgive and to grieve the past and work on creating something new. So I think it's a very, again, it's very unique in terms of the people who are involved.
The only thing in my experience and practice that you can't get back, that's not forgivable, is cheating.
Oh, that's unforgivable all the time.
People who cheat never been able to forgive, honestly, one another. You just can't get over that. They may get together, they may be together, but there is no real forgiveness with cheating.
I disagree.
I never seen that. Verbally they would say it, but that distrust.
Can a relationship survive cheating?
I guess it depends on the nature of the affair, but also depends on the nature of the relationship. Right.
Because if you poly-intimate.
When I trust me, I've been married for 10 years, right? And when 10 years, I've been married for 10 years next year. And so, you know, my husband and I, we fall out, right? And absolutely, we have conflict. Any intimate relationship has conflict, right? Because I'm trying to tell you who I am, and you're trying to tell me who you are, and we are very different. And so that is the source of conflict. So in that process, I ask myself, and I imagine I will continue to ask myself, would my life be better with or without you? And the honest answer that I come to every time is yes, it's better with you. I think affairs are ugly, right? I think they're ugly. I think it's full of deceit, and I think they're really mean. I think they cause a lot of damage. But I also believe that people can grow in them. I think they come out of something. They come out of a problem with the person, and they come out of a problem in a relationship. And if you can figure out what that problem is, and you can resolve it, it can lead to something even greater. I believe that. I've had tons of couples, been married 20, 30 years. There have been affairs. People have chosen to forgive. I've seen affairs on multiple levels, emotional affairs, physical affairs. I've seen people walk away from phone calls, and people stay with a husband who has a sexual addiction and picked up prostitutes for many, many times. There is a commitment, right? That's not unconditional love. There's a commitment. I get it, right? Like, you're not staying. But that's a personal preference. Both people have to be willing. Both people have to believe that there's something meaningful and something worth working through. That's the only
Why people cheat.
I believe cheating if it is out of something very personal to the individual. If your wife gets fat, right? That's a direct. I heard if your wife gets fat, or you're fighting, or there's distance. I don't believe that those are reasons why people cheat. Because all those things should be able to be addressed in the context of an intimate relationship. If your wife starts to gain weight and you find yourself unattracted to her, you talk to her about it. And if she's not willing to do what you want her to do, to kind of maintain the intimacy and the excitement in your relationship, then you have an opportunity to make a choice. Again, it's all about being informed. I think cowards cheat, right? That's what I think people who do not have the ability to say, this is what I want, it is not here, and so I'm going to choose to either try and create it with you, and if we can't create it together, I'm going to make another choice. So people.
That's a woman. That's a woman.
We didn't get the problem.
He said sex. So how would you explain a man whose wife sexes him all day and all night, and and all of this and all of that?
Greedy.
And well, absolutely. But again, you don't have to cheat. See, that's what the difference is. And my husband came to me and he said, I'd like to, I see this babe, she's this, that, and that. We can talk about that. And that's not, and I don't define that as an open relationship, right? I define that as an intimate relationship. What defines cheating is lying and deceit. And you don't have to lie and deceive your partner if you want to have sex with someone else. You don't have to. You choose to because you don't want to deal with the consequences of being honest. So, that's real. That's all y'all, okay?
One more question. Brandon, please, could you give me like a 10-second answer to this? Go ahead, real quick.
So, just a quick question on the last previous comments you made about being with a person that was you look this person want to be with.
And he just didn't have a big voice like that.
Come on. So with that said, there are a lot of people in relationships because convenience. You are my best possible option right now. And that's just real talk. So I just want to know what your comment is also wrong.
Don't want to do it. I don't do that. I think it requires a great deal of work to find someone and have a creative, meaningful relationship with business. You don't just cross over. You work for it. You do the work, and you have to deal with the disappointment. And I don't think a lot of people know how to do that. You go through the process of seeking out, getting to know, being disappointed, recovering, and getting back out there and trying again. I don't think a lot of people recover. They don't want to go through that. It's difficult. It requires breathing. It requires dealing with unpleasant feelings. It requires tolerating frustration. And I think people who don't do that well, they settle and they don't reach ecstasy.